This is the TOTO A100 elongated bidet toilet seat. Here's what's inside the box. We can see we have the bidet assembly right here, and it's got an attached hose and a cord. We'll look at that a little bit closer in a minute. It's got a T valve for the plumbing. It's got a mounting bracket. Comes with a manual, an installation guide, and a safety manual. This is what the bottom side looks like. You can see where the electric cord comes out, where the water valve comes out. The water hose is quite long, coming in at almost 23 inches. Here we're looking at the electric cord, and it's nearly 4 feet long. Here's a closer look at the T valve. We can see it has a hard rubber gasket in there. You see some brass. A coupling nut that turns in order to tighten it up to the bottom side of the toilet. The T comes up here, coming up off the top, and then the water supply would attach on the bottom. Let's take a closer look at the bracket. If we look at the bottom of the bracket, we can see it has a foam rubber gasket all the way around, and then it has these rubber fittings that hook up to screws on the top. We can see that it's designed to have some forward and backwards setting. Also note on the bracket, you can see where it says front right there and back right there. And you notice there's some sort of a slide mount here. You can kind of see it's kind of wide and narrows down, has a lip on there. Looking at the bottom of the bidet a little more closely, we can see where the bracket would slide in here. And there's a little knob right here. If you press it, you can kind of see these little hooks. So it has some locking hooks. Okay, I'm going to take the bottom bracket, and just to see how this thing fits, we slide on, and it snaps right on there. Very nice. And then if we press this button and push back up, no, it comes right off, no problem. Well, now we're ready to begin the installation. Here's the instructions. If we look at step 1 and 2, it'll say turn off the water cutoff valve, put a pan underneath there to catch what little water's left in the hose, unscrew the hose from the bottom of the tank, and insert our handy little T valve. Now, let me show you what can go wrong on this. So here we are. Here's the cutoff valve, and I got a little plastic pan underneath here. And I just take the cutoff valve, turn it, and it shuts off. So if you notice, this was a quarter turn valve. Now, a lot of time, and I replaced this, and the house didn't originally have this. The house originally had what they called a multi-turn valve. And these things are awful because when you go to turn them off, they haven't been turned for, who knows, maybe 10, 15 years, and then the seal's not going to work, and then things are going to leak. So you turn this thing off, and it's leaking, and water's coming out, and you're going to have to go down to the main cutoff for the house and turn off water for the whole house in order to keep it from leaking. And what I like to do is replace these things with quarter turn valves. So you can see this quarter turn valve, they call it 1/2 inch. Now sometimes they call them 5/8 OD, but it's the same thing. This is a compression fitting, and basically I just reuse the nut and the compression fitting and screw down there and put a little bit of a caulking or plumber's plug in the back, just make sure it doesn't leak. But typically I will replace all of these cutoff valves with quarter turn valves because the multi-turn valves, you're just going to have problems. So this is going to be your big major problem that you're likely to encounter. Then the instructions say to unscrew this nut right here. Now I want to show you some of the problems that have happened to me before. You see how there's a big white plastic nut up here for the fill valve? Sometimes this will be pretty loose, and when you unscrew this, the whole fill valve assembly will start rotating around. So I would suggest before you do this, make sure this is tight, and then maybe hold the fill valve. See the fill valve of my toilet comes down there, and like I say, I've tried to unscrew those things in the bottom, and this whole thing would just start spinning around. So make sure it doesn't spin around, make sure it's tight, and if you have to, reach your hand in there have to reach your hand in there and grab that thing and keep it from spinning. Okay, so I was able to tighten this white nut up a little bit, and now we just unscrew the water. You can see that a few little drops came out, but nothing too exciting. We're at the step where we install the water valve, and if you notice, the instructions say do not use a wrench, which they mean finger tight, and do not use plumber's tape. So let me show you this. The seal, see how it has a nice rubber seal there? That's at the top. And then the hose, hopefully you have wonderful, nice braided hoses. If not, buy some new braided hoses, or steel braided hoses. They're really, really nice. See, it has a nice little rubber seal on the top. So those are the sealing elements, so you don't have to worry about the threads. Okay, it's all on, and let me tell you what can go wrong here. Now be really careful when you're screwing this thing on to make sure that it goes on nice and easy. Like this really went on smooth and easy, but sometimes you have it cocked, it's sideways, a little crooked. You can cross-thread the thing on there and it won't make good seal. So make sure it goes on nice and easy, and tighten up by hand. And the same thing with the bottom one, just be careful you don't cross-thread these things. Okay, now we're ready to take off the old toilet seat. Now, a lot of toilet seats will have a plastic cap here that you pry up with a little screwdriver, and then you unscrew screws that go down. Now, this toilet seat doesn't have that. It has things on the bottom. So if you look on the bottom, you can see how there's these little wing nuts right here, and we unscrew the two wing nuts and then take out the toilet seat. Now, when I received this, it was already adjusted correctly. They suggest 1 1/8 from the front of the bracket to the screw, but I mean that's just the way it came. I got this in here. I put a little soapy water on the rubber things and pushed it down there. Went in very easy, and I'm not going to tighten up these screws yet. First, I'm going to do a test fit. Okay, busy trying. And this thing just will not mount. I think the bracket's moving back and forth. I'm going to have to tighten the screws as the directions tell you to do, and then try to attach it. Okay, I tightened the screws, and let's look underneath here. You can see how that black rubber is kind of expanded. Now, one of the problems I had was the rubber was slipping around, so I had to grab the rubber, and as I was screwing, I had to hold the rubber boot to keep it from spinning. So anyway, it's all mounted down there. Let's just see if we can attach a seat now. So I'm pushing this thing back and it doesn't click. You see how my toilet is kind of bowed out here, and it's hitting the back of this thing. And it's not working. I can't get on far enough. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to loosen these screws and then slide this thing down a couple notches in order to get it to fit. Okay, I adjusted it to about 1 3/8, and we'll see how this works. Okay, well, this baby is just plain not going on, and I noticed that the release button is kind of pushed in, so it's right on the edge. It's almost ready to hook, so I think I need maybe an extra 1/16 or maybe 1/8 of an inch. So I'll try one more click and see what happens. Okay, I clicked it up 2 more notches. You can see I'm just about 2 notches from the end, and I'm pretty sure it's going to fit here. Okay, we're ready to push it on now. And you hear that nice solid click? Yeah, that's on there really nice and solid now. So this rest is hitting the toilet just fine here. So you can kind of see that we're not too far out of the way here. So that's looking pretty good. I guess I had to adjust it forward quite a bit, but it's still working fine. Okay, we did step number 7, made sure everything's all nice and straight. Now we got to do step number 8, and then step number 9, remove the blue tape, and then we'll be all. We're ready to attach the hose to the T-valve. You can see how there's an O-ring in here, so that'll make a nice watertight seal. Now we peel off the blue tape. Step 10 is to plug in the plug to a power source. the final step, which is to turn on the water valve and make sure it's not leaking. And then they have what they call this the trial run, and they have some stuff that they want you to do for that. Let's wait for a minute before we get to this. The biggest problem you're likely to encounter with this toilet. Step 10, plug it into the wall. Well, hey, there's no wall plug here. There's no wall plugs here. You know, luckily I do actually have a wall plug up here, but it would be nicer if it's down the bottom. So I'm going to work on that. But here's what you have to do. This is the toughest part of it. You need what they call a GFCI outlet. So bathrooms by code already have GFCI. So if I use this one, or if I put another plug-in down further, which is my plan, I've got what they call an old work box. So all I have to do is drill a hole right here, screw in this electrical box down here, add a little outlet down there, and just fish the electrical wire down there and hook it up, and then I'll be all set. So if I didn't have that, is what I'd have to do is I'd have to go up into the attic, and I'd have to drill through the header boards into this cavity. Boy, that sounds solid. I might not even be able to get in that cavity. Yeah, I might even have to go into this wall. But, you know, because this window's here and they got the jack studs, and there might not be any room along here. But let's just say the window was over and you had a little more room. You'd go up in the attic, drill through here, fish a wire down here, and they have these fiberglass fishes that, you know, they're like big long rods. They're like, you can screw them together and make them like 20 or 30 feet long. So you cut a hole just the right size to fit the box. You tighten these screws, and then as you tighten them, the swing comes out and it goes up against the drywall. And then the drywall gets kind of caught between this tab and the wing, and that holds it in place. And then the real tricky part is, of course, fishing the wire in. And I'm looking at these instructions, and you see how that says like hold down for a minute? Is what's going on here is on the right side of the seat, there's a micro switch. Hear it? Did you hear that switch? So this thing only works when somebody's sitting on it. So that's what they're talking about here. So let's plug it in and see what happens. Okay, it's plugged in. Seems to be going through an initial checkout sequence. Looking good, so sit down here for a second, for a minute. So it says we got power, we got water, we got seat. And, well, I guess that's close enough for a minute. Let me turn the oscillator on. I don't know what's happening. Oh, well, the wand's coming out. Okay. And you know, there's probably a lot of air in the line, so it's going to take a little bit before the water comes out. So let me just press on the rear button. Oh, well, it went back in. Well, that was oscillating on and off. Well, I guess it's maybe a double press. So I'm going to press rear. Well, there's oscillating. So if you press this twice, so if you press it once, it's not oscillating. Oh God, now it's spraying. Yeah. You know, I guess I gotta press the stop button. Okay, press stop. Well, I guess it's working. Okay, I held the box up and I traced around there, and I'm going to take my multi-function oscillating saw and cut out a hole. Okay, we got our hole cut, we got our box, and I wired the box and got the wire coming off. And then you can see right here, I got this yellow fiberglass fish. And the yellow fiberglass fish goes up here. I'm just going to tape on the wires and pull them up and get them out of this hole and hook them up to the existing box. Well, there we go. We got the electric outlet all installed on the bottom there. plugged in. Everything is looking nice and normal. Now it's all that's left is the cleanup. And hopefully this will give many years of use in the future. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Once I took the wire out of the way, everything looks a lot neater and nicer.